All right. I feel like a huge fanboy right now. I got someone on that I am just so excited for our listeners to meet. You and I were talking a little bit off air. So, like about a year ago, I was seeing a lot of your content and I was like, oh my God, not only can she dance really well, she seems really fun and she's super informational. And then the more that I dove into your content, the more I was like, oh my gosh, like this person has her own hero's journey. And so, Jessica, to have you on, I'm just so ecstatic, and I'm a huge fanboy. So thanks for joining the pod.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah. So Jessica, I want to tap on a few things here. Obviously, this podcast is really helping people and our listeners to understand everyone's hero's journey and diving into the habits and truly understanding what it feels like to become a high performer and what it feels like to be like, damn, I can't believe I made it. Like it's crazy, right? And so we're really trying to get our listeners to understand that there's an evolution, there's triumphs, there's really hard times in life, and so I kind of just want to throw out a banger. Tell us your story.
Oh gosh, yeah. How long of a story do you want? I got a lot of them.
Yeah, dude, we got an hour, so let's go.
Yeah. So I guess, the big part of like where it got me to where I'm at now was really struggling with an eating disorder. So just right off the back, let's just hit it hard.
Dude, I love it.
I grew up in a military household, Marines for parents, really high discipline household, high expectations of the kids. I'm one of 10 children, and the second oldest. And as that,
Wait, hold on. You say one of 10?
One of 10
Holy,
children.
holy shit. Okay.
Lot of
I thought my
responsibility.
five, yeah, I thought my family of five was big. All right, cool. You got me.
Catholic family.
Christian, yeah, but same thing, right?
Same, right?
Yeah.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, just really high pressure household. I was the second oldest, and I had a sister underneath me that had some learning disabilities. And it was kind of a big part of my role was taking care of her. And I think, throughout just growing up, just that search for perfectionism ultimately led me down a path of, really getting into diet culture and getting into really I didn't really have per se like a problem with the skin that I lived in myself, but I was being told by family that I needed to be better, that what I was giving wasn't good enough kind of thing. And so it was just a lot of pressure. And I think that led me down a downward spiral to just really anorexia, bulimia, all this kind of bad stuff. But through this journey, when I went into the military myself, and I started a family young. And when my daughter was 5, she started kind of expressing just some discomfort in her own body and picking at her skin and things like that. And she was 5 years old, skinny little thing. And it was just absolutely absurd. But I realized there was something that I was doing now as the parent that was rubbing off on my child, and that I needed to break this cycle, and that this cycle really was that the way that I was going to break it was dealing with myself and dealing with my demons. And so I started kind of recovery from an eating disorder, and this got me on the path of nutrition, and I've discovered this just passion about nutrition, and that's the field I'm in now is helping athletes and helping other humans just kind of break up with diet culture and these messages of nutrition misinformation. But it's been a long journey, and there's been a lot of setbacks along the way. I've had failed relationships. I've had struggles with depression. I think my big arc to really feeling successful and feeling happy in life has really just happened over the last 3 years, coming out of a really, really, really rough time. But getting help, getting therapy, and really putting work into myself. And I've just seen that as I've stepped into this person that I am now, being vulnerable and sharing kind of what I've experienced with my audience and people around me has been empowering for them and for me. So I'm just really excited about where I'm at now. So now I'm a sports dietitian. I work at UCLA with the men's and women's basketball team. Took the men to the Final Four this year. Let's go.
All right, we're good. Keep going.
Yeah. So and now I'm on social media doing all kinds of things, as Desi mentioned, the TikTok dances and all
It's
kinds
so
of silly
fun.
content that I put out on social media. But it's been a really great way to just kind of connect with people. I found that for the longest time on Instagram, I was kind of posting messages that really just were only reaching other dietitians and professionals. And I really wanted to reach that end athlete, that end person that really needed my message, and not just a bunch of people saying, this is a great message and it resonates with us. I wanted that end athlete, that end client to really hear the message. And so through COVID, I took to TikTok, and really that's where the high school and collegiate athletes are. And it's been
just crushing it.
it's been so fun. Short form videos, TikToks, Reels are just a really great way, I think, to reach people. And if you can get creative with it and share your message, you can reach so much of a wider audience. So I've just seen things grow and grow, and it's just been a fun ride.
It's been so cool to see the evolution of like what you've been able to do with your creativity and your humor and a lot of your story, Jess. I wonder, and I don't know if you knew this about me, but when I started in the field, like I didn't get into my dietetic internship, right? So for our listeners out there, in order to become a dietitian, you got to jump through a shit ton of hoops and do a year internship that is unpaid, and it's probably going to be probably like 10 to 15,000. It's complete horseshit, by the way.
Yeah.
So you have to go through that whole process. So when I first started, it was with eating disorders, right? And so I've had 10 plus years of that experience, and what I find is exactly what you're talking about too. Is there's expectations that are put on us at a very young age before we're even able to like mold who we are as people. So Jess, I'm wondering if we can kind of go back a little bit. When did you first start realizing that some external messages or things like that were really having an impact on such a young mind and who you were back then?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably in high school. It was probably in high school, and I hate to throw my parents under the bus, but they were a big one.
Yeah.
They would say things about, if you shouldn't wear that because your body pooches, or you've got like a stomach.
Yeah.
If you had your sister's body, you could wear that, but you shouldn't wear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Everybody else in the family looks athletic and you're chubby. These
Hmm.
sorts of messages where I don't think that they meant anything vindictive by it, but gosh,
Yeah.
as a like
It
13-year-old,
it it
14-year-old
fucks you
girl.
up. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I feel fine. Like, is there something wrong with me? And so that's
Yeah.
what I felt like for a long time in my life. I was like, there's got to be something wrong with me because I'm not getting that acceptance from the people around me that I care about. And I moved a lot. I went to 25 schools, 5 high schools. And so just
Hmm.
that quest for like acceptance and fitting in and finding my fit. I feel like
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot of my life. And it's really, gosh, I'm 36 now. I just had a birthday. 36 now. I feel like this is
Hey,
the first time in my
happy
life.
birthday.
Hey, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel like the mid 30s has been the first time where I felt like I really love the skin I'm in. I feel like I fit in this world now. I feel like I know my path, but it's taken
Mhm.
a long time, a lot of trial and error. And Desi, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. So, all right. So hold on. Happy
Yeah.
birthday. When was your
Okay. Thank you.
birthday?
Thank you. It was last June 28th. I think it was a Monday.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. So I turned 36 on December 30th. So we're like right in the same right?
Love it. Love it.
So I love just that you kind of expanded a little bit on like I don't want to throw my parents under the bus, right? And it's so funny that like both of my parents, far from perfect. I love them so dearly, but they definitely have had a role in things that I've gone through in my own personal development. And I really resonate with what you're saying. Like, hey, like at the age of 36, I'm finally feeling like I am who I'm supposed to be. And I definitely resonate with that. And I'm wondering, you talked a little bit about your daughter being 5, right?
Mhm.
And right now my daughter is 5. And so like it kind of struck a chord with me where you're starting to see certain things and both my wife and I, so she's an eating disorder therapist. So we're always having like the goggles on, like, let's make sure that we help our daughter really develop a healthy relationship, not only with her body, but just with herself.
Right.
And so I'm wondering if you can kind of expand on just what it was like being a mother at that time and just being aware that your daughter maybe started to make some of those comments or started to feel a certain way. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. It was definitely a learning process because when I was going through recovery, so she was 5 and she, like, I mean, just straight up and down a beanpole, just a tall, skinny kid.
Hmm.
But she would stand in front of the mirror and pick at her skin and like pick at fat that wasn't even there and just say
Yeah.
things about her body. And I'm like, there YouTube shows or anything like that at this point. So where is this coming from? And I knew that it had to have been from me. But at that time, I wasn't going through my dietetics program or my nutrition education program. So I didn't even know like the right things to say or not to say. But I knew that there were certain words that I had to take out of my language. So I took like the word fat out of our language. We don't say words like that. There's just certain ways that we talk about people and we talk about things. When I was growing up, my parents, if we saw there's a big overweight person in public, my parents would point and look, and that's something that I realized, oh gosh, I have that instinct to do, but that's not because that's the way I feel. That's something that someone else has implanted in me. And I had to kind of really look at all of the take inventory and take stock of all the things that all my feelings and all my reactions and all the words that I was saying, and really start to kind of clean that up. And so, I started there. I started really not letting my daughter see if, I was still kind of doing some diety kind of stuff, not letting her really see that, not having those conversations with her about that. And talking about the body, about, gosh, your body is so strong. Look at all the things. You're so good at soccer. Look how strong your legs are. Look at how fast you are. And talking about ourselves in a way that was different than how our body looks, because that doesn't matter. And we put so much,
such a huge emphasis on it. And it like takes our joy. It literally sucks it out. Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah.
It's so influential too. And I wonder, you kind of talked about going through hard times during that time, right? And I wonder, like for me, one of the driving forces has always continued to be like my little girl, right? When I really struggle, it's like, hold on, like you're trying to set a precedent. You're trying to lead a legacy that you're really proud of, right? And so just for you, like, I wonder if you can talk a bit more about like what role your daughter has played in your life, and also some of the hardest times that you've had to go through, and what that meant to be like, oh, like I got to do something better for my little girl. Can you expand on that a little bit?
I mean, everything. My daughter's been everything. I mean, oh gosh, where's the tissues at? Because I'm gonna start crying, Dezi.
Are you ready? I'll cry with
Here we go, Dezi. No, so everything. She's been everything, and the reason why I'm still here. Your viewers probably can't see, but I have this where's my camera? I have this, I can't even find it. I have this tattoo on my arm. It's this dragonfly. And I got that for I got that to symbolize my daughter after I tried to take my life. Sorry. But if I didn't have her, if I didn't have a reason to do better, a reason to want more out of life, I wouldn't be here. Yeah. So my daughter's been everything.
I share so much. Jess, straight up, thank you so much. Like I appreciate the vulnerability. I share so much of what you're talking about, because there are moments where I'm just like, fuck, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm pretty sure I'm fucking this up. Like I
like, I do that all the time. Where's the book that tells us how to dance right? Where's the book?
No, because it's so true. Because like people ask me like, hey, like Des, like why do you do what you do? Like, how are you so passionate all the time? I'm like, look, man, like. I wish that I had what I'm doing when I first started, because God, man, parenting is such a vulnerable experience. And, my wife and I just celebrated our second anniversary, this past May. And it's just, there's no book, right? No. And you have all this past conditioning and these things that you like really have to unlearn. It's so fucking hard.
Yeah. Like you have your parents as an example, and then you decide like, okay, I liked what my parents did here, or I hated what my parents did here. And you try to do it different, but you don't know if it's going to work out. You just know how you are. You're like, I know I'm fucked up. So like, how do I not fuck up my kid? Right. Like that's all I know is like, this wasn't the answer. This wasn't the recipe. or functioning adult, or maybe it was, maybe it was the recipe, and and I had to figure it out myself. Maybe that's the message, is that you do the best you can for your kids, and you just hope that they have enough of tenacity, of enough spirit to figure it out. But gosh, I really want to set her off on a much better foot in life, and how she feels about herself, and gosh, how I did.
Yeah. You know, mental health is hard, because in order to truly get to that place where you're able to recognize that you, especially for me, growing up in a Latino home, like, you don't talk about hard things. It's like the family knows, but no one really talks about it. You might have a couple people who might ask if you're okay, but mainly it's like, don't talk about it. And then just, even just with the male culture as well, like the very toxic masculinity, it's like, go provide, shut the hell up. And mental health is really hard. And you talked about like this moment where you were about to take your life, right? And it really struck a chord with me, because I've had that moment as well. And it came back to like, who do I want to become in order to be better? What sort of role do I want to have in my daughter's life? Because shit, she's not going to be okay if I'm not here. Right. And so, just for you, can you kind of go back to that moment? Like, what was going on in your life at that time?
Sure. So at that time, marriage was coming to an end. I was, in a relationship, married for like 8 years. I had just finished my dietetics degree, just landed my first like dietetics job. Things were going well. It seemed like I was working in a private practice. I was even maybe going to make 6 figures that year. Like, things were looking good. Things were looking good. And I was like, this is it. I found it.
Yeah.
But I had this relationship that wasn't working. We had grown apart for a long time, and feeling more like roommates than partners. And I think we were fighting against each other for a long time. And so anyway, so we were going through a divorce, and we split. And he tried to take my daughter, and he's not her biological father. He tried to take her, and she said she didn't want to be with me. And so for me, I was like, well, God, here I am. I'm doing it. I've achieved what I wanted to achieve, but at home, nobody's with me.
Yeah.
And it was because I wasn't with me.
Yeah.
It's because I was doing everything for everybody else, and trying to please everybody else all the time, but I wasn't taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw that. So even though I had done all this work coming from the eating disorder recovery since she was young, and now she was like 12, 13 at this time. So it's been a while. And yeah, I mean, I had just let her down. I let her down. I wasn't me again, or I was, in a depression, in a funk. And so, yeah, so I tried to take my life, and, gosh, I'm glad I did it. I'm glad it didn't work out.
Yeah.
And what happened was I had a few phone calls, and I went back home, and my parents were there, and I hadn't seen my mom in like 10 years. And she's sitting on my couch, and I had a bad relationship with my mom for like my whole life. And she's sitting there on my couch, and she knew she didn't really she hadn't been there for me for a long time. So she knew that she really didn't want, she just wanted to be there for support. She wanted to show that she was there to help. And now I moved out to California, and now we have like the best relationship in the world. It's just like, it's been like a complete like 180. But yeah, so I think I had to get back in touch with me, and actually maybe even find me, find out who's Jessica, what lights Jessica up. I'm on this path doing these things because it felt like the right thing to do. I'm doing the nutrition path because it felt like the thing that I was passionate about for the first thing in my life. I'm in this relationship, and I'm married because we've got a great family unit. And I'm just doing the things that I've been told I should do my whole life. And I had to navigate away from that. And I blew up my life. And I started all over. I came out to California on a 4-week temporary contract, and just hoped things would work out. But for the first time in my life, I stopped really planning, and I stopped like stressing about stuff, and I just like kind of like took felt that like if I just led with my heart, that I would find the right way. And then if I stopped leading with my mind, like the mind was screwing me, I had to listen to the heart for once. And out of this, we talk about our kiddos, like, gosh, I know that from my parents, it was like, stuff it down, suck it up. Marines, think of like family of
suck
Marines.
It up,
like,
buttercup.
Suck it up, buttercup. Like, no feelings here, right? Like everybody's sad, right? but
Yeah.
but that's one thing I've tried to do for my daughter is like not make decisions for her and tell her how to live her life, but talk her through, like be her co-pilot, like help her navigate her own life, but let her have charge of it. Let her decide what she wants to do, but talk about maybe, consequences of actions of like what would happen here or there. Or if she is struggling with a friend or a relationship, we'll talk through like how to navigate that. What are you feeling? How are you feeling? What did this person do to hurt you? And, can you work through it? How do we talk about that? Let's talk through that instead of just putting up a wall and running away, because that's what I did. Just put up a wall, run away from everything. And I didn't want that for her, because really like how we move forward in life is working through those hard things. And we have to work through those hard things by being honest and being open and being vulnerable. When you stuff it all down and you're strong, like you're not saying a lot of things, and that's a lot of things for then you to have to deal with and you to have to take apart. So
you mentioned something earlier. You're getting to a point, you're starting your career, about to make 6 figures, crushing it, like, oh my God, like married, like I'm making it type of thing. And then you have this moment where you're like, shit, have I just been checking off all the boxes? And the one box that I'm not even looking at is like what I need. Like it's, you talked about that moment, and I wonder, Jess, for you, like, do you think that's a learned behavior where it's like, hey, if everything out on the outside is going well, then I must be doing great, regardless of what I'm giving to myself? I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think it's a learned behavior? Do you think it's just something that happens? Like, what do you think?
I mean, look at Instagram, right? It's everybody's perfect lives.
The real,
the perfect lives. But that's what everybody thinks that they're striving for, right? It's like, well, look at her life. It's perfect. Her family's perfect. They're happy. Her and her husband are happy. Her and her kids are happy. She looks like a great mother. But you don't know behind the scenes, all hell is breaking loose, that they're fighting every day, that the kids are tearing the house apart. Mom's not getting any sleep and she's stressed out. You don't know that. And so I think that we think that that's what we think that that's the goal, is to have this picture perfect life, that American dream, white picket fence, right? And there's a lot more than materialism, a lot more than what outwardly is you're presenting to the world. And so I think we've not put enough emphasis on taking care of the inside, and we've put all of this emphasis on what things look like on the outside, how pretty we are, how put together we are, how successful we are. And I know a lot of people that hit that point of like they've achieved this great thing, and they're like, they expected something to feel different. They expected like, gosh, when I finally get here, everything's going to be different. And I'm going to like, my life is just going to take off. And then you get there and nothing changes.
Yeah, you're like, shit.
You got the same
like,
shit. It's the
is this
same
what
shit
is this what I've been chasing this whole time? Like, this is bullshit.
And then you're chasing the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, because you're chasing happiness, because you're not dealing with the inside. You're dealing with trying to check those boxes of achievement that the world has said that you need to do.
Yeah. I mean, you've done a really great job at, like, and I totally agree, like this Instagram like highlight reel of like, this is my life and like this is what everyone should strive toward. I think you and I really connect in some ways too, because I'm not afraid about talking about the hard shit. I'm not afraid to be like, yo, I have 2 therapists, right? I have my individual and we have our couples, because we believe in mental health, right? And so you've done a really good job of that. And it's funny that you mentioned like talking about like people were trying to navigate that highlight reel. I had posted something a while ago, and it was the day before the George Floyd trial, and I just found myself like, oh, like this motherfucker's gonna get off. Like I know it. Like, you know what? Like I'm not doing well. I got my daughter, my pup, and I was like, all right, we're just gonna go up to the mountain. We're gonna go for a hike. I'm gonna get out. And so I made a TikTok about it, and I had posted it. and it ended up getting reposted on one of my reels, like maybe a month or two later. And when I posted, I was just talking about like, hey, like I wasn't doing okay. Sometimes it's okay to not be okay.
Yeah.
And I had like 5 or 6 people reach out like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you for checking on me. Like, all right, you're a real one. And also, like, I think that we have to do a really great job, especially as people who are influencing others, you know, these high performers, to be able to release the stigma and talk about hard shit. And you do a really good job of that. You've done. I've loved your posts because it's something that I'm continually working through every fucking day of my life. But the imposter syndrome,
Oh, yeah.
can you speak on that for yourself?
Whew, imposter syndrome is so real, y'all. It's so
Yeah.
real, right? So it's just like
Yeah,
this
it is not a
idea.
myth.
Yeah, it's this idea, right, that our real successes and achievements like aren't actually real, and that we feel like a fraud, and I feel like a fraud all the
Yeah.
time. You know, I feel like a
Mhm.
fraud because I've only been a dietitian for 3 years. I've been asked to speak in front of groups of dietitians as an expert, and gosh, like that's like it makes me feel like a fraud. Like these people have
Yeah.
been. I've got dietitians that have been dietitians for 15, 20 years that want a mentor call from me. And that blows my mind because to me, like, I'm not there. I'm not
Yeah.
there. Like, I haven't figured it out. And I want people to realize that, like, sometimes even things that look like success from my end, too, like, I'm just a person and I'm just a person figuring it out.
Yeah.
And what's helped me is just to stop being such a tough critic on myself. Like, it's okay. You've only been a dietitian 3 years. You've been on this planet for 36 years and you've gone through a lot of shit. You've gone
Yeah.
through a lot of shit that a lot of people have not gone through, and you
Dude,
figured it
facts.
out.
Yeah.
You figured it out. Like that part doesn't matter. It's not just my nutrition knowledge. It's all of my life knowledge. And that I think people are seeking or seeing from me is
Yeah.
that. And so I think we have to be less critical of ourselves. We have to acknowledge all of those achievements, even if they feel small. If they feel big to us, then gosh, that's big. Like
Yeah.
little milestones that look like little milestones to other people, those are huge. If it's like if you're in a class and it's a math class, let's say, and you struggle
Yeah.
with math and you get a B in it, but you expected to get a D in it, like that's a success for you. Your
Yeah.
successes are going to look different than other people's successes, and so I think we have to be kinder to ourselves, but also recognize that it's real. It's real.
Yeah.
Imposter syndrome is real, and when you're feeling like a fraud, fake it till you make it. Everybody else is anyways.
Yeah. For real.
Everybody is
Every,
faking
everyone is literally doing the best that they can right now.
it.
And some probably need to take some ownership behind some things and probably need to work on some things. And we all need to do that. And I just want to make sure that I'm very clear for our listeners right now. Like, as we're talking through this, it's okay to struggle and it's okay to recognize that you might have things to work on. It's okay. Maybe we're looking at your habits, your health, like your mental health, whatever it is. But when we make that conscious decision, do nothing about it, then we're making that conscious decision to stay stuck. And I think that's something that I really want to make sure our listeners get, because it's funny that you talk about like whatever's progress to someone is their progress. I mean, you mentioned math, like, yo, in college, like I walked away freaking skipping with my organic chemistry grade. I got my C and I was like, I don't give a shit.
Me too.
I'm
Me
not,
too. Let's go. C's get
I don't,
degrees, baby.
yeah, yeah. It's so funny because my little sister, she just got into her dietetic internship. Marisa, at some point, I'm sure you're gonna listen to this. I love you, girl. Proud of you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, right. So she just got in, and I remember through school, she's like, I don't know what to do. Like, it's so hard. I'm like, I might not be the best mentor for you right now, but like, get your C and get the fuck out. Like,
Yeah. It
yeah,
doesn't, and that's we're perfectionists, right? We're type A
yeah,
personalities. We think we have to like ace everything. And gosh, I wanted to. I really
yeah.
wanted to.
So did I.
I wanted to, but like it's hard. It's hard, and you're adding on top of that, like especially to become a dietitian and to become competitive for an internship, you've got to do all the things. You're not just going
All
to
of
class. You're
yeah,
volunteering. You're working. You're in clubs. You're on committees. You're doing leadership. You're
all
doing
that stuff.
so many
Yeah,
other things. If you're an older adult like me, you had a family too. Like
yeah.
you had a lot of things, and guess what? That C's still gonna that's He's gonna get you a degree. I've never been asked about my grade in organic chemistry. I've never been asked. I've
For
never
real.
been asked. It feels like the whole everything right then in that moment, but in the bigger scheme of things, and I think that's where we have to look is like out in your life, like, is this worth it? Is this, if I have to sacrifice, maybe getting that grade that I want for a little bit of mental health and self-care, or I've got this other thing over here that means more to me in this moment, like, you've got to be able to pick and choose where to put your energy and effort, because you only have so much energy in any given day, and you have to choose where to give it. And you also have to really, protect that energy. And that's one thing that, like, coming out of like mental health is like learning to protect my energy, because I was putting so much negative energy into things all the time, stressing and worrying and having anxiety and just all of these things. And I decided, like, I'm done with that. Like, I want
this shit is for the birds.
Fun stuff. It's for the birds. This is not fun. Having fun right now,
Yeah. I wonder too, like, as we're talking about this, a lot of what you're saying, and again, I knew we would become friends the second that we had a convo. So like, I feel it. So it's so funny that you're talking about this process, because I think a lot of people get lost in what they should be, right? Versus like really being present and mindful about who they are now. And if they want to become something different, is truly finding appreciation for the process. And so obviously this podcast is very much about telling people's heroes journeys and really diving into their habits and why these are high reward habits for these people. So I constantly talk about this with not only just on the pod, but on social media with my clients. But it's like, you have to make these conscious decisions to do these little self-care deposits, right? Sleep hygiene, sitting down for a meal if you're super busy, going for that walk, moving your body. Like, they're just little self-care deposits that you're constantly doing. So just for you, like, what habits are like are not only just the high reward, but they're non-negotiable? Like, what sort of things have you found just through your evolution of really struggling, about to take your life, noticing that your daughter means so much to you, second career type of person? Like, what habits throughout that whole process have you looked at that you're like, shit, those really helped?
Yeah, I think a big one is checking in with yourself, kind of checking in with yourself at any time. And like, when I start to feel like I'm getting snippy, I'm not being a nice person. Like, I know that I've navigated away from where I want to be. And I try to take stock of those moments and go, okay, what's going on? Maybe I had an interaction with someone and now I'm like playing out this imaginary debate of what I would have said.
Scenario that's not going to happen, right?
Afterwards, right? But it'll consume me. It'll consume me for hours. I'll be thinking about this one little exchange and for hours. And so I have to check myself and say, like, that's old Jessica. That's not new Jessica. And what that might mean for me is, Jessica, go for a walk. Jessica, go listen to some music. Jessica, go read a book. Go do something that gets you out of that. Get out of your mind space. And there's a mountain near me that's like an ass kicker of a climb. It sucks, but it's right by the ocean, and it's like this, like, it's like 1,500 gain over the course of like a mile and a half. So it's like straight up, and it hurts so much, but it hurts so much that I can't think about anything. I can't think about anything but my legs moving in front of me. I can't think about anything but breathing. And because of that, I can get out of my head and I can get clarity on a situation. And sometimes I have to recognize, like, I'm very defensive, and sometimes I have to recognize, like, my shit, like, own my shit. And like, maybe I took something the wrong way. Maybe I did screw up and that person was calling me out on something, and I have to take accountability for that. Taking ownership and responsibility for things is another big one for me. Is like, you're only going to damage relationships if you can't ever own your shit. If you make a mistake, if you say something that hurts someone, you have to take ownership for these sorts of things. Come back to that person and work forward with it. I used to just like slam the door, screw that person, never talking to them again. Don't need them. I don't care if they're my boss. Like, right?
I don't need this job.
I don't need it. Woo, throw it up and blow it up, right? But that doesn't help anybody or anything, And maybe that person, maybe they had something going on in their head. Maybe they didn't mean to present something the way that they did either. But so I try to get clarity on it and try to just let shit go, because a lot of things, not everything matters. And we sometimes things feel like they matter so much, but when you get some distance from those things, you realize, like, just let that shit go. It doesn't even matter. And those sorts of things have been everything for me. Just letting go of things, taking ownership thing out of my headspace when it's negative and trying to break that cycle.
Yeah. So I want to touch on something because I know a little bit about your background and where you've worked, but something that you just said really, really, really resonates with me, and it's a quote from Kobe Bryant. He talks about one of his first seasons and talks about like how he was shooting air balls and how like that thought process of like, I disappointed everyone just consumed him. And then he sort of stops and he talks about like, when you have these moments, like get over yourself. Like everything's not always about you, just being present. And so I want to ask, obviously you worked at the Mamba Academy, correct?
Correct.
Did you ever get to meet him?
I did. I saw him the day before he died.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I know what he meant for me as a competitor, and even more so as like a girl dad, and seeing his evolution of like what he was trying to do and seeing his joy, like it just like fuck. I remember when it happened, I was like, this shit isn't real. Like I don't, and so I don't know what was he like?
Gosh, I mean, he wasn't there often. I mean, he was there for his daughter's games a lot, and he was there in the building for different things. He had this pro invitational with like a bunch of like big names, and I got to cater it, and it was a really cool experience.
Oh, that's awesome!
Yeah. I gotta be in the room with him as he was like coaching and mentoring NBA athletes. Like it was insane. It was just insane. Yeah. He just had this presence. Like Kobe's not that tall. He's not that tall, but he has this like presence that's just everything. And gosh, the man was just great, great. Yeah. And so it left a big hole at Mamba when he left, or when he not his choice to leave.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But when he was gone, I mean, we all felt it. We came together as a team with everybody that worked there, and we had some like grief counseling and things like that, because he meant something to everyone in a different way. Some of these people that work there, he was like an inspiration to them from childhood. And this was this was like so many people's dreams to be working in this building that Kobe, he didn't necessarily build because it was around a couple years before him, but when he came on, he made it Mamba. And gosh, yeah, it was just a complete devastation and a huge hole.
Yeah. And obviously for our listeners out there too, like, and others that'll probably watch this on YouTube, if you're seeing this on YouTube, that's a bigger scale, right? It's Kobe Bryant, but I kind of want to bring it back to who we are as people. People are always watching, whether it's your kids, your coworker, your significant other, your friends. To some level, you are inspiring others. Your role is super important, right? And so we've talked a great deal about the importance of mental health and a great deal about the importance of taking ownership. And Jessica, like I totally resonate with everything that you're saying. And so for our listeners out there, I want you to take this in. This conversation, I want you to get to a point where it's okay for you to say that like you might need some help in some areas. It's okay for you to navigate better relationships. I think Jess, you touched on that, right? So your presence is needed. If you are the high performer that I'm speaking to right now and you're crushing it at work and you make a lot of money and you're really, really happy that is happening, but you are unhappy with who you are, this is me knocking on your fucking heart right now. Like, because it has to happen, right? And so Jess, I'm so thankful for this conversation. I got a couple questions that I like to ask towards the end of the pod that are really great, and then also a little bit of fun too. So one of the questions,
are you?
Well, this one you might. I don't know. Like, well, you cried at the 10-minute mark, so we must have done something right.
Damn you, Dezi.
Hey, this is vulnerability at its best. This is just you just being authentically you, which is why I'm just so thankful that you're on this fucking planet, dude. So Obviously, this is the Can't Believe I Made It podcast. So for you, do you feel like you have made it? And if not, what does making it look like for you?
Yes, I do feel like I've made it because I feel like for the first time in my life, I can bring my authentic self to the world and not give a shit if they love me or not, because I feel good with me. Yeah. So I have dreams still. I still would love to work for an NBA team. We're gonna get there.
Oh my God.
We're gonna get there.
Dude.
But like, as far as like, I've recognized that like those achievements and what's in the bank and all those sorts of things, they don't mean shit if the heart isn't full. And for the first time in my life, I feel full.
Yeah.
So I've made it.
Shit. Whew. I'm taking that bite and it's being everywhere. Oh my God. That was so good. Fuck.
And I didn't even cry, Dezi.
Oh, I guess there was joy in my heart right now. God, that was beautiful. Thank you. And then also side note, so the Suns have been my team since I was a kid, right? And so they were hiring a performance dietitian, and I had just already stepped away from the Brewers. So I was like, all right, I think I'm good. Like I got my fix, like I'm good. So when that came on, it was in March 2020, and I was like, holy shit. So I didn't apply that day. The next day, I was like, all right, I got to get this stuff together. Like I'm gonna get this job. Like this is mine. And then the pandemic started, and it was like job got wiped, and I was like, damn it. I'm holding out though. I'm holding out.
You know what? Opportunity shows up when it's supposed to.
Exactly. Exactly. Go Suns. Okay. Wow. That was really great, Jess. Thank you for that. All right. So obviously this is about the hero's journey, right? So put yourself in the place of like DC comics, heroes, just like movies, just kind of put yourself in that place, right? Maybe just like as a kid or maybe even not right now as an adult. So who is your hero comparison and why?
Ooh, well, I think I have to go with like Wonder Woman,
Oh, okay.
I think, well, my boyfriend always tells me, I'm built like Wonder Woman or something like that, which I don't know if that's accurate, but I'll take it because it feels good. It makes me feel powerful. But I think that's what it is. I think Wonder Woman, like she, women throughout the ages, you look at where we were and how far we've come, and Wonder Woman, I don't know when she came out, but it was probably at a time where women were still like supposed to be in the kitchen and taking care of the kids, and we've come so far as women to have a seat at the table, and we're still not there. But I think that that needs to be, but that embodiment of power and still femininity and grace, like, gosh, like to me, that's the everything woman right there, is someone that can have it all, can be strong, can be powerful, can hang with the boys, but still have that femininity and grace and play both. So I like to strike a balance between those two. I'm a brute. I could play rugby. I'm a brute of a person, but like I'm a girl too,
Ding. That trend in itself is, I know, makes me laugh. Makes me laugh so hard. Yeah, right. So but you're absolutely right too. I think, just kind of side note, I recognize a lot of the privilege that I have being a male in this world, right? And so like my wife has been extremely great at helping me to educate myself on what it feels like to be a female, right? And even just with our daughter, right? We're already starting to have conversations with her about like how we want to support her in being herself, right? And it's crazy. One of the podcasts that I listened to, Melinda Gates jumped on Brené Brown's podcast, and she had talked about women equality and how just from the standpoint of politics, we're looking at like possibly 60 years, but from the standpoint of just equality, it's like 100 plus. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like,
women can do it all. Women can do it all. We just got to get the rest of the world to figure it out,
Yeah.
But we're good.
yeah, we good.
We good.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I'm here for the ongoing hero's journey of all our females out there. So all you female listeners, I love you guys. You guys are amazing. All right, so Jess, last question for you.
Sure.
Where can people find you? You're amazing. Where can people find you? How can they connect with you? Everything.
Yeah. So on Instagram or TikTok at Jessica the Sports RD, RD for registered dietitian. Email's the same, website's the same, Jessica the Sports RD.
I love it. I love it. So for our listeners out there, obviously, please do yourself the favor. Follow her on TikTok, follow her on Instagram. It's a really nice dose of, damn, this girl can dance. Holy shit, that was hilarious. Oh my God, I didn't know that I needed to do that from a nutrition perspective. And then also a really big dose of seeing her be an incredible mom, an incredible human, and someone who's just able to be really vulnerable about their process. So quit sleeping on her, okay? Go give her a follow.
Thank you, Dezi, so much. Pleasure to be here with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So for our listeners out there, again, this is a new branded podcast. If you have not liked, subscribed, commented, shared, please do so. I am trying to make sure that these people's stories are plastered everywhere because it's about vulnerability. It's about noticing that you can be the own hero in your hero story. You just have to get to a point where you can take ownership and love yourself enough to be able to step into that person that you need to be. So for listeners out there, thanks again for listening. Thanks for watching on YouTube. Mad love for you all. Peace.